Fuck them, they're hippies.
Buenos nachos, amigos, and welcome to Record Breakers, a podcast where a group of friends share music with each other and then share their thoughts. That was a good one. I'm Peter Rave, your man with no plan. Here with me is my team, my crew, my squad. We've got Brett.
I've got cheesecake. I got chicken from Super Sharks. I got Marion Cobretti. I got everything I need.
We've got Drew.
Hey, folks.
And we've got Patrick.
Can you please send cheesecake?
Yes.
It wasn't very much cheesecake.
Yeah.
But there's still
send
tasty morsels in there.
Also, cheesecake is very hard to get into an envelope.
Yeah.
I do this for a living.
But yeah, we're talking about music. We're talking about an album. As you know, we share with each other. The provider of the album this week is Drew. Drew, what do you have for us this week?
Well, this is a band that sort of fell into my lap in a semi-interesting way. It's a band from New Jersey, an album recorded in Tennessee, and you can hear, in my opinion, a lot of both things in this record. A little bit of the record label they were on at the time as well. Or the record label they're on now, I guess. This is the band, the Gaslight Anthem, and their album, Handwritten. That's what I'm bringing.
Mm-hmm. Brett, what were your expectations coming into this album?
I had no idea. I was expecting the hoot hoot horns, actually. I did not get the hoot hoot horns. Instead, I got something completely different, in which I will go into in great detail.
Great detail. Patrick, what were your expectations coming into this album?
They're one of those bands I had heard of but never listened to, other than I think a song on a compilation that was a tribute to a dead member of another band that I have in my music collection. So I had no idea what I was getting into.
Yeah, I had no idea what I was getting into, and I didn't even know that I had heard one of their songs before randomly. I think on one of my daily mixes on Spotify until it came up on this record. So
that makes sense. But
yeah, let's talk about this album musically. Drew, how would you describe this album musically?
This album, like I said, is something that fell into my lap. Like I said, when we were introing this, my sister kind of shoved this at me, and usually when she tells me to listen to something, it's something that like I usually don't really enjoy. As much as
I have a relationship like that.
As much as she tries to get me to love Ed Sheeran, not really my cup of tea. Although there was a funny joke. Has anybody seen Dean Ambrose and Ed Sheeran in the same location at the same time?
I don't get anything that you're saying.
Yeah, but you know,
those two
he's in love with The Shape of You. Yeah.
No, stop. But onto this record, a record I actually did enjoy. It's something about it just struck a chord with me. It's an album with, like I said, there's some folk influence to it. There's some punk rock influence to it. And like Swagger messaged me, sort of confused, there's some very Jersey influence to this record.
Say.
A little bit.
Don't say.
A little bit. But they're a band that have, especially Brian Fallon, is a guy that has many different influences, and a lot of them are weirdly varied in very cool ways. And they all sort of come out, I think, in this record very, very well. The the focus very much is on the lyrics. It's something that obviously it's a very singer-songwriter sort of album, but there's still a lot of cool hooks to it. There's a lot of catchy guitar playing. There's a little bit of, like I said, some folky, like jingly jangly. Like I said, it was recorded in Nashville, and I think it shows in a couple of songs here with that. But at the same time, there was a review I read of this band once that was like made the point that there was the Springsteen song "Hungry Heart" was originally written by Springsteen for the Ramones specifically, and this is almost like if that happened and then like there was an alternate history where it was like that was a thing.
I don't want to be in that alternate history. Don't. Unless there's Ecto Cooler that I can still get, then I'll be fine.
That was like a thing just a few years ago. I had it. They put it in cans instead of juice boxes, and it was
weird.
Then that's not what I want.
It wasn't tasty as an adult like it was as a child.
I'm not going to believe anything.
But it's the band itself is something that like takes off of that. They take a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, and sort of mix them together in something that personally I think is very catchy. Very sing-alongy, and fun at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Brett, how would you describe this album musically?
So some raspy shit from people from New Jersey. Has that been done before? I don't know. Is there anybody? No, this is more of what I picked up on. Was the front and center. I'm going to do every song tells a story, and I'm going to rasp it to you, and it's going to be Everyman Americana, not that kind of Americana, the being in Americana, and I'm going to do it in a not old man style rock and roll, and it's a very vocals first album. One thing I do like is that if you look there. You see all of the names of the band members on the cover of the album, even though this is very much the dude who sings album in your ears. The mix is on to him. It does sound kind of weird. Like I didn't look up the Nashville part of this. That I might have to listen to this again and think, because there was some things that didn't sound quite like what I would expect this kind of band to do. And there aren't, this isn't a tour of force for, guitar solos and like crazy drums and stuff, but everything's solid. Like they have keys and organs and string sections and all sorts of, support instruments to fatten things up on the album. The mix and with all that going on, nothing really steps on anything. And they also cover some songs on this. Which like both of them took me back 2 times that were a long time ago. But like there are a lot of things going on, but mainly like the huge focus of this album is on just how much like a certain guy who's in charge and his band from the east
the big boss?
The city. Yeah, the big boss. It's I don't even know who the big boss is right now.
Yeah.
Riker.
Patrick, how would you describe this album musically?
Power pop Bruce Springsteen, right there.
Yeah.
That's they're in the same way that lots of people do a Bob Dylan thing. This album does a Bruce Springsteen thing in the same way that like Chamberlain, who I brought a long time ago, did a Bruce Springsteen thing. But like kind
who does a Bob Dylan voice that I don't know?
Tom Petty.
Well, okay,
Jacob
sorry.
Dylan. Like there are some people who
get away with
there's
that.
a few people that do kind of a vaguely Bob Dylan thing.
Hey, you sound like your dad, asshole. Get out of here.
But like, the Tom Petty Bob Dylan thing, they did that thing. This does the Bruce Springsteen thing where it's like a little growly, but like very New Jersey, but also like kind of all right. It, like if you're gonna do the Springsteen thing, at least do it well. And he did. I didn't hate the vocals. I thought like I don't hate Springsteen songs. They're okay sometimes. They're not my like daily intake, but like, you know,
I
once
can't
in a
get enough
while
of
you're
Dancing with the Dark.
I mean, you could make a fake Springsteen song if you thought for 5 minutes and just you like squeeze them out of your vocal cords.
Yeah, you just
like
gotta kind of do that Springsteen thing, and he does
talk
it.
about like a parking lot at a Union Shop or something for like 5 minutes.
With Courtney Cox.
To be fair, if you think about it, like you can do there are certain like artists like Springsteen, Bob Dylan, Pearl Jam, where if you think about it, you can do the thing that makes you go.
There were 40 bands that like sold 1 million records doing Eddie Vedder impressions. This I don't think sold 1 million records, but like
Temple of the Dog.
Wow, that's a weird one. I was thinking more of
well, I mean, that's okay.
Yeah.
That was just Eddie Vedder.
Yes. I was going to say that is literally Eddie Vedder.
Knock off Eddie Vedder in my.
It is also literally Eddie Vedder before anyone gave a shit who Eddie Vedder was. But it somehow combines like sort of modern power pop with that sort of vaguely Americana rock and roll sound of the 70s and 80s that you get with like Springsteen or the aforementioned Tom Petty. And I don't know why, but I was like, nah, this is all right. I like these things. These are doing the right thing together in a way I didn't expect.
Yeah, like musically it was kind of a feel good record in a way. There's you know, the vocals are really kind of captivating, but yeah, in the way that like not just from the fact that they sound like Springsteen, but captivating kind of like the mood that they carry, and the songs are hooky. Throw them hooks up, and yeah,
they catch you.
They catch you. Yeah. It's a shame.
Our shtick is too similar. We've been hanging out too much, Petey.
Shame they banned hooking. Fish hooking.
I saw the Gangs of New York. I know how that goes.
Like it'll kind of put its feelers into you and kind of like, draw you in a way, and it's really cool. But let's drill down to talk about some of the key tracks. Drew, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Well, to me, the key tracks and why I brought this is the first song that I plucked out that was like, okay, I'm gonna give these guys a chance, and listen to something. Was the song 45? That was the first song that like I sort of heard from them, and it's the first track on this record, and it's something that has that gruff to it, has the hook and the gravel and the stiff upper lip, and it's just sort of an old school song about like love and heartache, but getting the fuck over it. Like just being like, okay, like that happened and it sucks, but you know what, whatever, like I've got to move on, like, and that's what I gotta do because I can't live with it forever, right? Handwritten, again, we all know how I feel about title tracks, and I think that this one is really good. A song about how important songs can be, I think is kind of cool, like, and a little self-referential, like, hey, songs can mean a lot.
Involved here.
Weird. Musicians writing songs about how important songs can be, right? And people reviewing songs and talking about how important songs
Retail arbitrage is a wonderful thing.
Real circular logic going on here. But also, like, if you wanted a song that like is obviously dipping a little bit from the boss, listen to the bridge of this song. It's like, oh yeah, they like themselves some Jersey music. Mulholland Drive is the one I'll point to when you go back and listen to this again, thinking about like, oh wait, they recorded this in Tennessee. Mulholland Drive has
the Hollywood Bowls right there, the Predator Stadium, whatever that is. I've been there. I don't remember the name of it. The big convention center, Mulholland Drive.
It's the twangy intro that like was like, and then ending it on national anthem, not the national anthem.
I was disappointed. I got to tell you, first time through, I was like, that is a bold move. Just putting that old banger on here.
Yeah, no, the first time I sat down to like listen to this record in full, I was like, oh, weird, this type of band doing that song. I was like, that's a really hard song. Let's see this singer doing that. It wasn't that song. But I would like to hear Brian Fallon try to sing that song. That would be weird. But this national anthem is like sort of a plucky acoustic hook, strings in the back. It's a very, very pretty song, and it sort of ends the album on sort of a slower note. But I think it's kind of cool that sometimes, hey, song or albums ending on a calming note instead of like an upbeat note. I think it's something that I enjoy.
Brett, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
45. It's a solid opener. It's like not melt your face like, but it's got a lot of energy, and it really peps things up at the beginning of an album that sort of has its ups and downs when it comes to how in your face they are. The counter to that is National Anthem, where they used every trick in the sad song bag. Kind of, they had the acoustic guitar finger style with stringed instruments, and like the vocals were like an empty church sanctuary. Like it was, but it worked. Like it totally worked. It worked. I thought Biloxi Parish had a pretty strong chorus, and there's a Nirvana song on here that I haven't heard since I was like 14, and it made me feel really good. That would be Silver. I Grandma Take Me Home. I like what else can I say? That thing played through my house when I was like 12 years old. So like it was kind of like, wow, I remember that existing, and it's been forever since I've had anything to do with Nirvana.
Patrick, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Opening track 45. I think we're all going to talk about it. It's a pretty good song. It's the Bruce Springsteen vocals, but like played over kind of modern power pop. The guitar stuff is like not overly complicated, but also not just power chords, which is like okay. And it's one of those songs like the more I listened to it, the more I enjoyed it. Handwritten's got some great woes. I like a good woe.
Yes, it does.
And so, yeah, it's got some good woes, and that's notable.
Woe.
And it's got a really, really great bridge. Like the vocals on the bridge are really nice. Mulholland Drive, I just enjoyed it. It's got like this sort of isolated vocals on the opening that are kind of cool. They're like super slightly reverby and very Springsteen-y, but like they're kind of good. And then National Anthem, which does that thing that all albums basically from the late 90s to the mid 2000s did in the, vaguely punk emo-y albums where they have that acoustic song at the end, because that's where you put your acoustic song as the last song. But it didn't come off as like a bad thing. It's kind of nice, and I like the vocals in like the empty solid walled room, getting all that like reverby echoiness, and it came off as authentic in a way that like sort of, I don't want to say you're ripping off Bruce Springsteen because that's kind of a negative, but it's very much
it's homage.
It's an homage. Yes, it's an homage. And like channeling Bruce. I'm gonna call it channeling Springsteen for a whole album. That song like channeled it nicely, and I was weirdly okay with it.
Yeah, I the Handwritten was just it just like you kind of get the feel the Springsteen stuff in 45, but the Handwritten just kind of puts it right in your face, like it just kind of sticks it right in your face. Also, shout out to Blue Dahlia, one of the deluxe edition tracks, which is also where the covers are from, for kind of just having a I think I put the note dichotomy of sounds. It just kind of like has as a jumping back and forth between feels. Uh, as far as the music goes, yeah. Let's talk about some conclusive thoughts. Let's bring it back around the horn. Brett, what would be your conclusion on this album?
Yo, if you're into the boss and you want more that's done by not a bunch that's not old, that you haven't heard before, you'd be probably into this. If you are into like folky stuff, if you're into like not revolutionary but evolutionary music, this would be it. Is it something I dig on? I mean, I guess. I mean, I wasn't mad at this album. I don't think I'd ever run into this album in the wild in any way, but like, you know, I'm not worse for having heard it. It's a good time. And if just because, like, I mean, if there's not a whole lot of this that I've heard that is not Bruce Springsteen, so if you want more of that, like, this is definitely it.
Yeah. Patrick, what would be your conclusion on this album?
I kind of really enjoyed it in a way I didn't expect based on, like, I was 5 seconds in, I'm like, this is power pop Bruce Springsteen. Like, but it kind of grew on me. And again, like, New Jersey is a place I make fun of a lot because New Jersey is like the official butt of every joke when you live in the Northeast, but you don't live in New Jersey. It's an easy target, but this is kind of the good bits of it. I mean, it is music about feelings, but not, you know, mushy emo-y ones, but about like America, but not like in a Toby Keith kind of way, but in like a Bruce Springsteen or John Mellencamp kind of way. And I'm here for that once in a while.
Don't bring John Mellencamp. This is way better than John Mellencamp. As somebody who is from where John Mellencamp comes and ruins everything.
John Mellencamp's not that bad.
No, John Mellencamp's all right. I like John Mellencamp.
John Mellencamp.
Johnny Cougar.
Hold on.
But like,
Brett has a really hard stance against John Mellencamp.
Ask a lot of people, if you live in Indiana and you have to hear that shit all day, every fucking day, like, that is the one thing. Let us have our tenderloin sandwiches and our basketball tournaments. But, you know.
Oh, if you want a tenderloin, you go to Iowa.
Nope.
That's where the tenderloin is.
Nope.
I have been to the home of the tenderloin.
You got to have a tenderloin that's this big and a bun that's this big.
Yeah, that's how you get them in Iowa.
And it has
Sorry,
to come from a
PD,
big
we're gonna have to
coat.
we're gonna have to cut it.
Sandwich breakers. Sandwich breakers.
I'm gonna call an audible. We're just gonna
Complain
Midwest
about
do
thing.
one on whenever we want it.
Get an ear
We're
of
just
corn
gonna
right
go
next
into-
to it. Some beans.
We're gonna listen to whenever we want it.
Yes. I do have to say on a side note that I'm sad that there's a possibility I might not be able to go to Gen Con this year because of like PTO stuff with work.
Well, at least you don't have to worry about John Mellencamp.
Yeah, but I won't get to enjoy the tenderloin sandwiches again.
I'll mail one to you.
Yeah, I look forward to that. But yeah, Drew, what would be your conclusion on this album, or whichever one you want to talk about?
Well, I want to talk about more John Mellencamp. No, it's one of those things where, like I said, this was like Menzinger's, like, what, 4 or 5 episodes ago. It's something that just sort of fell into my lap, and it's something that I didn't think I was going to enjoy at, like, first brush with it. Like, just hearing a little bit from my sister or whatever, I was like, it's all right. And the more I got into it, the more I was like, oh no, wait, this is a weird mixture of a lot of different things I like. And sometimes when you get the chocolate in the peanut butter, it tastes all right. Sometimes when you get the peanut butter and the chocolate, it tastes all right. Chocolate and the peanut butter, it's pretty tasty. But that being said, it's something that I think is very, very well done. I think that the band, like Brett said, the whole band is on the album because, yes, while this is very much like the lyrics and the vocals, and Brian Fallon in general has a very strong presence, it's still something that it is a labor of love for the whole band. And it is something that with music like this, it's very much a push. I stay away. I make it a point usually to stay away from deluxe tracks if I can. But Yeah, the covers are really good.
Suck
And
it. Grandma take me home. Grandma take me home. I want to be alone.
It's the thing of there are two covers. It's Silver and You Got Lucky, and it shows the like polar opposites of where this like band takes inspiration. It takes inspiration from like grunge and punk, but also like Tom Petty and Springsteen, and I think that's kind of okay because when it gets right down to it, the people like the musicians and stuff like that that love punk like also love other music that is there for like music's sake and like the well thought out singer-songwriter stuff, and mixing those two things actually works all right.
Mm-hmm. That is certainly true sometimes. And it is true this time.
Caveat.
It is true this time. Yep, those are our thoughts on the Gaslight Anthem, Handwritten. We get to the main event evening now. We get to our haiku reviews. Where we sum it all up in poetic form. Let's get down to it. Let's get it cracking. Brett, what would be your haiku?
Borrows from the boss. Some New Jersey rock and roll. Really can't complain.
Mm-hmm. Patrick, what is your haiku?
Springsteen power pop, but with authenticity. Very New Jersey.
My haiku. Captivating feel. Punk meets Americana. Call them the sub boss?
Mini boss.
Mini boss. But that's too many syllables, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Call them.
And that doesn't make any
There's
sense.
a mini boss. Also, I think the mini bosses already exist. Drew, what is your haiku?
So would this band be Vamp then? Metal Gear references, yeah.
Fat Man.
Oh my God, yes. But all of them are very skinny. A band I doubted, but glad I gave them a shot. Thanks for this one, sis.
Yeah. That is the Gaslight Anthem, Handwritten. It's on the Spotify playlist. You can listen to it. You should have already because it's your homework,
Suckers.
But you can just go back and see if you don't inform your opinion, and go and listen to that. But of course, you can also listen to next week's record. Do your homework, do your due diligence. On said Spotify playlist. It's going to be a guest episode. We're gonna have the return of our poet laureate, the one, the only Brandon Cooper, aka King Kaz, my co-host on Halijuku. He's gonna be talking about. Well, I made him come on to talk about Paramore, their album Riot, because he's been threatening to bring Paramore and talk about Paramore, forever, ever since we started. So I made him make good. But look forward to that. That's next week. But that's then. And this is Dow. And you can, of course, find us all over the internet. Patrick is at The Swagger. Britt is at HeyBittyBearBird, HIBBITYBIBBARD. Drew is at X. I'm at PD Rave. The show is at 4 Record Breakers. That's the number 4 Record Breakers. RecordBreakersPodcast.com, RecordBreakersPodcast@gmail.com. Use all those to give us feedback about this album or any album. Talk about in the comments. Let us know what you think of the album. How, especially if it's your first time listening to it, if you're checking out albums, if you're actually doing the, following along with us, that would be cool because we'd love to get that back and forth. But yeah, follow all the things. Check us out all over the internet. Rebelli.net for this and other shows. Rebelli TV on YouTube and other places. Like, share, subscribe, do the things. Until next time, hasta luego.
Fuck John